Peikian is a worthless loser who makes end meets through low-paying, gruesome jobs. Right after graduating from university, he started working like a dog in several companies. By now, he has met every kind of trashy boss and has experienced the cruel workplace politics that jobless and uneducated people like you will never get to experience. He's on the way to his current workplace and barely catches the train by squeezing himself in. When he reaches the company, only 5 seconds are left till the check-in. He runs at Flash's pace and checks himself in just in time before falling on his face like a doofus. The clock hits noon, and Qian is met with a challenge that he faces every day, which is deciding what food to order for lunch. His financially challenged self gets all hot seeing the discounts, and he orders the cheapest options he can find. After eating lunch, he starts gaming as there is still some time left till the end of lunch break. All his excitement dies as he catches a reflection of his bastard boss on his coffee cup. He switches the tab to his office work instantly, like we switch tabs of PG-18 things when our parents catch us. Show a random meme of a person getting caught watching something on computer. The boss looms over him like a demon for a second and moves away when he sees him working. Qian switches back to the gaming tab instantly, but the boss comes back again. He switches to the work tab again and then switches back when the boss goes away. They keep playing this little game till the break is over, and Qian collapses on his table from exhaustion. When the clock finally hits 6 p.m., he grabs his backpack in hopes of bolting out of the office and even makes a goofy stance as if he's a superhero going to save someone from monsters. But he gets hit with reality when his fat boss shows up in front of him. The boss asks him if he's done with the presentation slides, and Qian questions why he has to finish them today when the deadline is on Wednesday. The old geezer counter-questions, why can't he give it beforehand? And Qian turns into a cheeky Sigma, show shirtless guy Sigma meme, which is very unlike him, and talks back to his boss for the first time in his life. Show Spix family Anya's smile meme when Qian smiles. The whole office turns into shocked Pikachu face, show the meme, while Qian keeps clapping back to his boss's comment. The obese fossil threatens to fire him, but Qian just walks off nonchalantly. On his way back, he winks at a pretty girl, and the whole office goes apeshit for him. But of course, all this was in his absurd delusion, and the real version of him is a doormat who acts like a submissive omega with everyone around him. He yields to his boss's order and sits back in his chair like a wet cat. He works even after everyone leaves, and after around 2 hours, he receives a shady link from his friend, which says go big or go home. His phone accidentally slips out of his hand and falls into the dustbin beside his table. The phone screen starts glowing, and suddenly an unrecognizable voice announces that the fortune conversion system will be activated soon. Out of nowhere, the phone ejects a wave of golden papers that engulfs Qian and pushes him into the dustbin like the trash he is. When Qian opens his eyes, he's greeted by a university friend in his dorm. His friends leave the room, and it finally hits Qian that he's back to his university freshman year for some reason. He crashes out, thinking of ways to get back to his timeline, but it dawns on him that he can use this opportunity to turn his life as a corporate slave around. Right then, a virtual screen shows up in front of him and announces that the fortune conversion system is binding with its host. A weird TV-like robot appears on the screen and somehow turns itself into a human with a TV head. It introduces itself as the fortune conversion system with a nickname called Richest. Richest says that this system will provide Qian with a startup fund to help him become rich. Qian's eyes start shining upon hearing about money, and he starts swimming in Delulu Ocean at the thought of getting rich. Insert a video of a rapper with money. But the bot brings him back to his cruel reality by telling him to read the conversion rules first. It explains that in regular intervals, the system will provide its host a certain amount of funds, and the funds can only be used for the company's standard operations. After a stipulated time, the fund's profit and loss will be converted based on a fixed rate for the host's personal assets, which he can use freely. To motivate the host to work, he cannot pay himself using the company's account. As of now, 50,000 wen is Qian's startup fund. He cheeses hard, thinking he's going to be rich in the near future. Richest gets to generating a random profit-loss conversion rate. Loss rate comes out to be 100.1, and profit rate comes out to be 1.1, which means that generating loss would be far more beneficial for Qian's personal gain. He starts dancing like a buffoon upon the results, because losing money is far easier than gaining money. He thinks about the stuff he can do with the startup fund, and Richest slaps him with a list of prohibited rules that stretches longer than Qian's delusion. He realizes that he can't cheat his way out of this and will legit have to find a company that's going into a loss. After researching a little with the extra fast tech in this new timeline, he decides to build up a lousy gaming company, as earning money in this industry is hard, and he's already a game developer, so he can run a company while not generating any profit. He comes up with the lamest name ever and asks Richest to register it as a company. Richest registers the company quickly and threatens Chen to never let anyone get a hint about the fortune conversion system before disappearing. A countdown appears on screen, which is only 14 days, meaning Chen has 14 days to develop a game. All his excitement from before goes down the drain because, for an airheaded loser like him, developing a game in 2 weeks is near impossible. Right then, his roommate returns to the room, and Chen hesitantly asks him if developing a game in 2 weeks is feasible. The friend replies that it's a piece of cake and introduces him to a new platform called Ezro that lets people develop games without coding and use templates for their ease. Chen leaves the room right away and goes to the library to start working on the game. After a little research, he discerns that this platform is very limited and a good game can't be made on it, but making a crappy game would be a piece of cake. Not to mention the templates are also expensive as hell. He buys a simple driving simulator template worth 20,000 yen and uses the remaining money to buy other things to complete the game. Ezro, the platform he's working on, has its own inbuilt AI, which helps him incorporate some special features, but overall, it's still a shitty game that will make any gamer pull their hair out while playing it. He sets the game price at 1 yuan and publishes it in hopes of creating the most flop game ever. In the original universe, Qian is missing with his shoe left behind and his phone in that dustbin. The disgusting boss crashes out, wondering where the guy must be. Qian spends all night checking if someone downloaded his game. Fortunately for him, even incel losers who spend all day playing games paid it no mind. Insert Gunball Fat Gamer meme. He silently celebrates the first milestone of his life, as his actual life has always been in the gutter. His friend and roommate, Ma Yang, enters the room and hands him food that he brought from the canteen. Qian eats the delicious food, and more bums make an entrance in his room, turning the room into a hub of stinky, sleep-deprived sweatlords. They all decide to play a game and invite Qian to play with them too, but our alpha edgelord refuses, as his head is in the clouds, and all he thinks about these days is making money. Ma Yang finishes his food in a hurry and asks students in nearby rooms to log in too. The smelly bums get on their seats and start playing. Ma Yang finished his meal quickly for nothing because he plays as awful as a girl playing a game for the first time to impress her gamer boyfriend. Everyone in the room grinds on the game like their rent is due. Ma Yang ends up losing badly, and everyone laughs at him for being a noob. Simpsons everyone laughing at you meme. Qian him with their noise. Qian replies no, closes his eyes, and goes into nostalgia mode. He had missed this noise because in his OG life, he had fallen into depression after graduation despite buying all the games he couldn't earlier. He had no time and energy to spend on games because all he wanted was to isekai himself to get out of the shitty corporate life. But now, everything is different, and Qian has mastered a new art of delusion, which helps him daydream about getting rich all the time. He's already starting to wonder what he will do with the 50k when he's supposedly going to win. He decides to buy a good computer first of all, and then spend the rest of the money hooking up with baddies. Show appropriate scenes matching with the script here. However, his mental fanfiction gets threatened by the introduction of a fat sugar baby. Whether he's actually a sugar baby is beyond our knowledge, but he got this utmost title because he calls his Bilibili subscribers sugar daddies. He is a content creator on Bilibili, which is basically China's YouTube, and his most popular show is Bad Game Roast, in which he reviews bad games. However, he's still a broke bum, as criticizing bad games doesn't make someone rich. While looking for new games to trash, he comes across Qian's dumpster tier game. The introduction looks interesting, so he clicks on the game, which takes him to the gaming screen right away without any menu or start pages. He finds it a little fun at first, but his amusement barely lasts a few minutes as he starts dying for dumb reasons. But his mama didn't raise no quitter, so he spends hours on the game, dying again and again. The game pisses him so bad that he wants to strangle the creator, Itachi strangling Sasuke meme, but it is also weirdly addictive. After some hours of bullshitting, he decides to give up, but the game screen displays a note urging him to continue by baiting him with a reward that he will get at the end of the game. He gets motivated again to play the game, and this time he locks in for real. Man starts experiencing an existential crisis while playing the meaningless game. After devoting 8 hours of his life to that garbage, he finally wins. Right when he thinks he will finally get some sort of reward, the game screen says that he has successfully wasted hours on the useless game that has no meaning. The fat YouTuber thinks about hugging the ground from the 20th floor because no way did he work so hard for some crappy scam. Show Tom in Game of Thrones jumping from his window. After 2.3 days, while Qian is sitting in his class, he summons the richest to look at his current stats. He has an idea that the game has been downloaded a few times, but he believes that none of this is going to change anything. He is in his wonderland when the richest tells him that Ezro pays on a weekly basis, so the stats aren't really updated yet. Right then, he hears two classmates talking about an annoying game that has recently gone viral because of a YouTuber. The description sounds oddly familiar, and Qian starts worrying if they are talking about his trash game he thought would get at most $10 downloads from touch-starved losers. He bolts out of the class like A-Train, show A-Train from the boys, towards his room and opens his laptop to check the status of the game. By now, it has been downloaded 8,000 times, and he still has 10 days till the next closing date. He sees the comments talking about getting introduced to this game through Mr. Chiao, who is none other than our sugar baby content creator. Funnily enough, Ma Yang is watching the same video of Mr. Chiao that made the game go viral. Qian moves over to Ma Yang's laptop and watches the video. Mr. Chiao talks about how he spent 8 hours completing a worthless game, and he calls the game the worst driving game in history. Ma Yang comments that he has never seen Mr. Chiao this agitated before, and because of it, this video has more views than all his other videos. He suggests playing the game since it sounds boring and interesting at the same time, without knowing that Qian's mind is spiraling as he speaks. Qian refuses the offer and starts thinking of ways to persuade people to quit the game. His peanut-sized brain comes up with the idea of writing a description, apologizing, and asking people to get refunds. However, no one takes the description seriously, and they start consoling him for creating a bad game instead. 2 to 3 days pass, and Qian starts looking like a corpse. By now, Yang has played the game too, and it makes him want to chidori the game creator. He mentions to Qian how infuriating the game is, and asks if he has tried the game. Qian looks dead inside, and, without looking at his friend, opens up how this game was not supposed to be played by anyone, but fate is playing games with him, which is why this garbage became famous. He is aware that if he makes 1k yuan through the game, he'll only get 10 yuan for himself. This profit-loss ratio is effed up. Meanwhile, a secretary Shadi gives the CEO of a company the monthly data about the downloads on Ezro's platform. She briefs on how they have acquired 15 companies this month. One is an indie developer, but his company, Tengda Technology, is too small for her liking. The CEO gets a little surprised seeing the number of downloads of the developer's very first game. The secretary tries rizzing up the CEO while informing him that the game is only priced at 1 yuan, so even if they acquire this company, they won't gain much profit. The CEO replies that he doesn't care about profits. All he wants is to create a monopoly. He instructs her to keep a close eye on the company, but the girl only complains about him getting her name wrong in reply. Tired of her aggravating antics, he fires her on the spot, demonstrating his true Sigma capabilities. Show Sigma meme. On the closing date, he wings it for the last time, hoping that he can somehow go into a loss, but he is unable to find anything on the internet. He ends up with 70,000 downloads, which gets him only 700 yuan for his personal use. His dream of becoming ultra-rich by just lying around and doing nothing has been shattered by a Saitama punch, show meme of Saitama punching. Not to mention, he gets an additional 300k fund added to the company account for the next round, which basically means that he now has to lose more than 300k to earn some money for his own self. Richest gives him 30-day deadline for the next round and disappears. Qian falls to his knees like a damsel in distress, rethinking his life choices. He worked so hard yet earned only 700 yuan. All he wants is to become a happy and useless person who gets all the huzz without trying. He's useless even now, but he's not happy. He must find a way to lose all 300k this time. Ma Yang looks down from the top bunker and asks Qian to play with him. Qian makes a dirty face in return, which makes Yang think that the guy is having relationship problems, not knowing the guy is as bitchless as ever. He gives in finally because stressing about the lost profit thing is not going to take him anywhere. All of his roommates spring out of their blankets upon hearing that Qian is gonna play. Alas, their team loses anyway despite Qian showing off his extraordinary gaming skills, and the one to blame for the loss is none other than Mr. Useless Ma Yang. The whole group gangs up on the guy for playing like shit and making them lose every time. Ma Yang summons Pei Qian to his defense, but Qian instead goes off on him, calling him a professional deadweight. The term professional deadweight lights a bulb in his brain, and he gets the idea of using his friend's uselessness to his advantage. Man starts cooking up delusional scenarios in his mind again. Like last time, he thinks he's a genius for coming up with this idea. While Ma Yang is in his dreamland, probably dreaming about some unicorns, Qian wakes him up with his creepy smile and acts like he is about to molest the guy. Show diddy. Even the next day, during class, Qian keeps looking at Yang like an uncle looks at his nephew. Yang thinks he is really about to get graped by the guy. Meanwhile, the other guy is only thinking about using his idiocy to generate loss. Even the canteen guy looks at Qian rubbing his cheeks on Yang's face and thinks there is some rainbow shit going on here. Show homophobic dog meme with F slur on it. Yang finally reaches his limit and angrily asks Qian what he wants exactly. Qian, exposing his fruity tendencies, holds Yang's hand and declares that he wants him. Everyone in the cafeteria goes quiet for a second before they pull their phones out and start capturing the beautiful declaration of love show memes of Fujoshis. Ma Yang cries like a baby, imagining the kind of things Qian could want him for. After a whole day of misunderstanding, Pei Qian stops giving him gay signals and reveals what he actually wants from Yang. He elaborates that he's planning on developing a game and wants Yang to help him. Yang is more than willing to offer him help because of their friendship, but he has no hope in the plan, as developing a game costs a fortune, plus he has no experience in this domain. He walks away, giving his answer. To stop him in his tracks, Qian theatrically reveals that he was the one to create the game Lonely Desert Road. This revelation doesn't just stop Yang in his tracks. It pushes him against the nearby door and makes him drop to his knees. He becomes Pei Qian's biggest stan at that moment and agrees to work with him right away. The duo holds their hands together, motivating each other to work hard towards the success of their upcoming. From an outsider's perspective, they look like they explore each other's bodies in free time. Ma Yang buys some coding books that can help them in learning game development, but they're pretty much as useless as him because they will be using Ezro, a no-code platform, to develop the game. Pei Qian suggests he read the books anyway since they're good for his growth, but the guy respawns in Dreamland just after reading one word. Qian just loves how unreliable he is. He wants him to keep being a dead weight for 30 days and lose all money for him. Qian gets to work right after waking up in the morning. He wonders how he can make a game that will result in a loss. Since the players have started associating Lonely Desert Road with Tengda technology, whatever game he makes will be checked out by people. Poor guy can't even brainstorm ideas because his roommate's stinky socks are lying on the balcony to block his mind. He can't make a big game with just 300k yuan, and he can't spend his funds without making a game either, because a penalty would be incurred. The idea of making a mobile game pops up in his mind. Since indie game players and mobile game players don't overlap, he searches what kind of mobile games are popular these days, and he gets presented with the idea of card games. Card games originated from China, and over time they have taken a digital form. Now gamers get to play turn-based collectible card games. With smartphones being everywhere, card games have become a popular entertainment option. Qian thinks of discarding the idea since he doesn't want to make a game in a genre that is popular. However, because of their popularity, many independent developers have joined the race, but they don't bring in anything innovative and just copy the most popular card games. Due to this, the card games market has become very competitive and harsh. Qian finally knows what he wants to do now. He decides to make another cookie-cutter game. He wakes Ma Yang up and tells him to get to work. He tells him that he'll hire professional UI designers to design the interface of the game. Ma Yang suggests to him that he can easily find these basic designs online and just make small changes to create a UI, not knowing Pei Qian has 300k that he has to spend at all costs. He turns into a saint before him and assures him that money is not a problem. He is ready to spend all his life savings on this game. Ma Yang gets inspired by this mindset and further cements his status as Pei Qian's clueless dog. Qian gives him freedom to write the storyline of the game too, but only using characters from QQ3 Kingdoms, the most popular card game ever, show the game on screen. Ma Yang is doubtful about the idea because creating their own stories for popular game characters can easily turn into a disaster, which is exactly what Pei Qian wants. Hiding his evil grin, Pei Qian wears a mask of being a kind sensei and convinces him that all innovations were doubted by people at first. Ma Yang is still a little unsure because he barely knows the characters of QQ3 Kingdoms. This revelation takes Qian's joy to level over 9,000, and he convinces Ma Yang that this will help him create more freely. He instructs him to let his imagination run wild and give it a try. Ma Yang tentatively starts introducing his perception of characters, which is one BS after another. Seeing his dogshit depiction of characters, he labels him as this generation's Einstein. Additionally, he also designates him as a full-time employee at his dollar store special company, with his monthly salary being 3k yuan. On the other side, we have a new analyst telling Mr. Li about the decline of QQ3 Kingdoms, which is because the rate of drawing rare cards is too low. The CEO responds that this is exactly what makes the game addictive. Players get more frustrated to draw rare cards and get addicted to the game. He orders him to just let it be and not worry about the decline of the game. The analyst presents him with another analysis. He communicates that Tengda Technology, the company they have been monitoring, is trying to venture into card games, and they're following the QQ3 Kingdoms route too. Mr. Li gives an evil anime villain grin in response, getting excited to know that the indie company is trying to get his attention. Being the cranky CEO he is, he fires the new analyst too for some dumb reason. While everyone sleeps, Pei Qian is in his Delulu land, thinking about how he is definitely going to lose 300k yuan this time. With Ma Yang's nonsense story at hand, he just needs to find a rookie artist who will draw the ugliest possible design that will make everyone hate the game. He's too optimistic this time, not taking into consideration that fate has its unique ways of playing with him. Qian treats Yang to a meal, for which Yang is very thankful because he's already getting paid 3k wen. He pays him 3k wen because the system didn't allow more than that OT, else he would have paid him more. Qian even offers to treat him to barbecue next time. Yang comes up with the idea of turning the Three Kingdom players into females, and Qian instantly rejects the idea because it has already been used in an anime, and otaku gooners will surely download the game if it has female characters. He justifies his rejection by saying that it will make them lose their uniqueness. Since Ma Yang is Qian's professional dog, he doesn't fight back, and instead thanks him for stopping him from making a mistake. The duo then goes boating to discuss the game's concept designs. Qian somehow brainwashes Yang into believing that a cool and striking design isn't necessary, as it will take away the attention from Yang's indulging story. The duo even has some slightly gay encounters that the oarsman envies. Qian also convinces Yang that they can't hire a famous artist because he wants the players to recognize the company for the game's excellence and not the artist. Because of their aggressive chitter-chatter, the boat starts swaying. And during the process, the two of them act even fruitier, giving the oarsman aneurysm. Shocked black boy with white shirt meme. Ma Yang hugs Pei Qian, calling him a compassionate developer who only wants players to enjoy the gameplay instead of making cards their first priority. He even suggests not hiring an artist in the first place, offering to make the designs himself. Pei Qian doesn't agree, and the duo starts arguing. The argument makes the boat flip over, and the elderly, homophobic oarsman is yeeted into the water. After dealing with the situation, Pei Qian tells Ma Yang about the artist he found to make the game design. It's an indie artist with just chibis in his portfolio. Ma Yang is unsure about the artist because the artist doesn't seem to have any experience in realistic designs, but like every time, he falls into Qian's trap and goes along with the idea. Qian wants a chibi design artist because his realistic designs would most probably be terrible, but he justifies the decision to Yang, saying the artist could come up with unique designs if he's only experienced in chibi drawings. Sometimes, even Qian is shocked at how easily his gaslighting works with Yang. Yang contacts the artist and they set up an interview for the next day. They make a banner for the company and get all suited for the virtual interview. Yang is wearing cutesy yellow boxers under his dress shirt like a true fruit ball, and Qian instructs him to protect his image and act more professionally during the interview. The interview starts, and the duo is met with a depressed, introverted guy whose favorite activity is probably coming up with ways to unalive himself, show a depressed emo. Ma Yang introduces himself and the company and leaves the rest to Qian. He gets up and goes to stand behind Qian, ruining the professional image he barely got to build for himself. Facepalm reaction. Qian takes over and conveys that they want realistic designs, and the artist can have all the freedom. Ruan Guangjin, the interviewee, questions why they are hiring him if they don't want chibi designs. Qian turns into one of X Factor judges and replies that he has potential. Guangjin replies that he will take 2k wen for a set, and Ma Yang explodes at the suggestion and tells him off for being so greedy as a newbie. On the other hand, Qian acts like a business tycoon who just got called a billionaire by Forbes and comments that 2k is too low. He continues that he wants an art design that would break the mold, which is why he's gonna offer more for it. He goes as far as to offer 3,500 wen, while Guanjin and Ma Yang have their eyes popped out of their sockets. Guanjin settles on 3,500 wen, and Richest appears on Qian's shoulder, threatening him not to raise the price unreasonably, pretty much holding him at gunpoint, so Qian has no option but to include amendment costs in the price too. Richest disappears after that, and Qian heaves a sigh. He thinks of himself as a mastermind who tricked Richest because he didn't want any amendments in the first place. He'll make do with whatever bootleg design Guangjin comes up with. While wrapping up the interview, Guangjin asks for a reference so he can know what the company is expecting from him, but Qian tells him to draw freely. He even flatters him by saying he believes in his taste and professionalism, which makes the introverted loser cry. He never imagined that one day he would be offered such a high price for his work. This finally motivates him to wrap up this depressed guy gimmick and get to work. On the other side, Qian orders Yang to oversee the art designs since he's going to be busy working on gameplay. Yang, as clueless as ever to his exploitation, accepts the order cheerfully, assuring Qian that he's going to do his best. Meanwhile, Qian is congratulating himself for cooking up this plan of having unreliable Yang oversee talentless Guangjin. However, he can't just rely on the art style for the game to flop. He thinks of raising the price so jobless bums with nothing better to do can't buy his game in the first place. Two versions of himself appear in his mind to give him advice that are walking snacks, unlike the actual him, who looks like a cheap grifter. To give the card game lovers some psychological terror so they can't play this game, he comes up with the idea of providing them unlimited pulls with a lifelong membership plan, which will make the game uninteresting for them, as the very reason for card games' enjoyment is their gambling tendencies. He pats himself on the back for being a supposed genius. His next step is actually designing the game. He comes across a failed project that copied the fundamentals of QQ3 Kingdoms. He immediately buys the template and utilizes it. It has the most choppy visuals and effects ever, but that's exactly what Qian is looking for. On the other hand, Guangjin is sitting with his artist friends who are supposed to help him with the art design, reading the requirements of the contract and the descriptions of the characters. They can't believe the kind of characters Tengda Technology has come up with. Guangjin's friends even think that this might be a scam because no way the client is willing to pay so much. Guangjin conveys that the payment has already been deposited into his account, which is even more of a surprise. The requirements may be tough, but he doesn't want to be stuck on drawing chibis forever, so he's gonna pull through this at all costs. His friends are surprised to see their gloomy, depressed friend so motivated to grow, so they summon some balls, too, deciding to take on this task seriously. Guangjin decides to go with his personally invented art style, in wash and oil painting, which his friends think is too depressing to look at, but Guangjin is confident in it since the main requirement of the design is to create something epic, which perfectly ties with this art style. The man who used to look like the ambassador of dark and gloomy thoughts suddenly has light in his eyes. He and his friends work tirelessly for days and submit the design a day before the deadline. When Ma Yang receives the submission, he asks Chen to review it, but he's in his sweet sleep, so he doesn't bother waking up to check. For the name, he tells Ma Yang to name it Phantom General. Mr. Unreliable finishes up the game and fixes all the bugs before the day of the launch. When it's time to launch the game, Chen suggests writing a bland description saying it's an ordinary card game. Ma Yang, being the everlasting idiot, thinks he is using a reverse marketing strategy, as if Chen would spend a single penny on marketing the game. Chen's cockiness bites the dust as soon as he sees the art designs, which look like Leonardo da Vinci's creations. He had hired Guangjin because he thought he was a depressed and talentless fad with no will to draw well, but he totally bested him. He has turned into Hulk in his mind and wants to vanquish everything before him, show Hulk destroying things. But Ma Yang assumes this anger is because he feels like he underpaid Guangjin, when in reality he wants his money back, along with Guangjin's life. He sends Yang away, saying he wants to be alone, making Yang think the guy is going through a psychosis. Qian gets teary-eyed like a wet cat after days of feeling like the main character, show cat crying meme. However, as the president of Delulu Land, he manages to convince himself again that the game is gonna flop. He reckons that the fans of QQ3 Kingdoms prefer cute art designs, and the market is volatile, so this still has chances of flopping. He even cooks up a dumb scenario of Guangjin crying over no one liking his designs while he laughs at the guy's despair. He's a firm believer of Delulu is the only Solulu, and this time, he's gonna hold on to this hope. Fortunately for him, it somehow works out because by the next day, the game has more than 100 bad reviews. Everyone who downloaded it hated it, commenting how the gameplay is boring and the art design doesn't match the vibe of the game. Depression leaves Qian's body as soon as he hears about the negative reviews, and his head transports to Cloud 9. Ma Yang thinks the guy has gone mental to be talking about it so excitedly, and mentions that it's obvious someone hired trolls to shit-talk the game. He doesn't believe the reviews are real. He even turns on his keyboard warrior mode and writes up a reply to a negative review. But Qian stops him from doing so, as there are too many reviews, and he can't just reply to all of them. He tells Yang to take the matter lightly and have hope in the game. Yang's dumbass brain makes an excuse for Qian's behavior as always. He thinks that Qian is a tough Sigma guy who can't be broken by anything. Show a random Andrew Tate vid. He truly believes that Qian is destined for great things, being as oblivious as ever to his devilish plans. Guangjin asks Yang if Mr. Pei has any issues with the design, and Yang answers that there is nothing else to do. Guangjin and his friends think they truly hit a jackpot by having Qian as their client because he paid them a good fortune and didn't even ask for amendments. Guangjin's friends butter him by saying that it is his talent that made it possible. However, Guangjin is confused about the direction Qian is taking the game in, because the description is bland, and he hasn't seen any ads for the game either. His friends convince him that it must be because the game is in the testing phase, as all companies invest in ad marketing. The Three Stooges come to conclusion that Tengda Technology is fearless and doesn't play by the rules. Basically, it's a company of alphas who want to cement their own name in the industry. Show Grey Wolf meme. Guangjin plays the game to check and infers that the gameplay is very basic. Even the UI and functions are very bland. However, if there's one thing he absolutely loves about the game is the card designs that he made himself. His standards are so low that he gets happy just by seeing sparkling effects around his designs. Instead of getting disappointed by the trashy game, he celebrates that his designs don't get overshadowed by other factors. However, one thing that confuses him is why the game hands out rare cards like candies. There's only one cheap membership plan in the cash shop, and that membership gives the users extraordinary chances of pulling rare cards. He tries to convince himself that the game might just be in the testing phase, but his patience gives out, and he calls Ma Yang for inspection. He shares his concerns with Yang, and the guy replies that this is the official launch, and there won't be any new items getting added to the shop. Guangjin's jaw drops to the floor at the reveal, because if they keep doing this, they won't be able to make any profits. Ma Yang shares that he doesn't understand it either, as it is Chen's idea. Chen has justified it by saying that players already spend 1 yuan to purchase the game, so there shouldn't be many microtransactions. Guangjin gets inspired by Chen at that moment, like he's the second coming of Mother Teresa. Ma Yang continues that Chen didn't even want to add the membership plan at first, but he figured that some players might want it, so he added it eventually. He reckons that Chen wants broke players to enjoy the fun of getting rare cards without spending a fortune on gambling. Guangjin can't believe that there is such a kind developer in this world. Ma Yang endorses this statement and adds that Chen spent all his money on the game and didn't have anything left to spend on marketing, so he went down to punch a tree a day ago. Then the two biggest meat writers of Chen start crying like babies while admiring their daddy Pei. Show the dick eating is crazy meme. Guangjin tells the made-up story to his friends, shocking them both. It's hard for them to believe that Tengda is a broke company with no money to spend on ads. Guangjin can't help but meat ride him even more upon knowing that, despite being short on money, Chen never mistreated anyone. But he knows very well that the company can't generate any profit with a game like this, which is why he takes it upon himself to fix this issue. On the other side, the one who everyone thinks is a poor meow meow is celebrating the failure of the game. However, like every time, his dreams and hopes come crashing down when Ma Yang comes running towards him and latches onto him, happily announcing that the game has exceeded 10,000 downloads in just one night. Chen is clueless as to why the game is getting downloads when they haven't pushed any ads. Not to mention, there are many new 5-star reviews too, under the weight of which Chen gets buried. Because of the many mentions of art design in the reviews, he suspects that Guangjin has something to do with it. He calls him to ask if he was the one to promote the game. Guangjin reveals that he asked for help in an artist's group chat. His friends were shocked that the introverted loser who never touches grass wanted to ask for help from people head-on. But since he was in the competition for Qian's #1 glazer with Ma Yang, he couldn't give up and asked for the promotion anyway. Then the news about the game spread, and it went viral overnight. Guangjin thinks he has completed a revolutionary milestone, while Qian is cursing all of his generations. Qian asks him why he cares so much when they are just business partners, and he answers that his kindness has moved him. He couldn't sit by and watch him lose money, knowing how much effort went into it. Qian wants to dismember him because what he has done is going to make him lose money, not the game's failure. He hangs off the phone, aggressively and sarcastically thanking him for his help. Guangjin's life is all sunshine and rainbows now, and he wholeheartedly believes that Pei Qian is the greatest man alive. Ma Yang is also admiring him from his place, finally comprehending why Qian was so calm at first. But he can't help but wonder who hired trolls in the start. It turns out to be none other than Mr. Li. He has a new secretary now who's sitting in front of him like a chicken. He was the one who hired trolls for negative reviews, but it didn't work out in the end. Mr. Li believes that Tengda Technology wanted to beat his company, which is why they made a game similar to QQ 3 Kingdoms. He orders his new secretary to speed up the process of acquiring Tengda Technology in retaliation. Meanwhile, somewhere, we see a pink-haired baddie playing Phantom General and getting surprised upon pulling rare cards. In no time, Phantom General makes it to the top of Ezro's recommended games list. Qian goes to an empty bathroom to talk to customer service about it. He requests that the game be removed from the recommended games list, which is the first time a request like this has been made. The customer service employee suggests replaying it to higher-ups if he really wants it, but right that instant, Richest appears, reminding him that this is against the rules. Qian has no choice but to retract his request. Richest shows him an evil grin, basically mocking him for failing to go into a loss yet another time. Qian, on the other hand, pouts like a depressed loaf. Since it's already the closing date, he is met with the gruesome tallying process again. The game has made a profit of 200k yuan since its launch, and after doing all the calculations, Qian only gets 2k yuan for his personal assets this round. He congratulates Richest because the fortune conversion system keeps robbing him of his money. The next round starts right then, giving him 90 days with a 500k yuan starting fund. Qian realizes very well that it's pretty much impossible to go into a loss, since 2 of his games are already earning money. On top of that, his starting fund keeps getting increased. which makes every round harder than the previous one. He tries to ask Richest not to increase his startup fund anymore, but of course the freaky robot doesn't listen to him. He hangs his head low and gets out of there, contemplating whether he should sleep on a train track or not. Meanwhile, the mysterious Mr. Lee is surprisingly in good spirits and orders his secretary to acquire Tengda at all costs. Since money is already a burden for him, he has no problem spending it. Qian is watching a boring soccer game while brainstorming ideas that can take him out of this hellhole. He thinks of changing his strategy like every time, but Ma Yang calls him suddenly. He informs him that a company named Fuhui Capital wants to acquire Tengda Technology. Qian's pupils turn into dollar signs, but with the dollar signs come fortune conversion systems warning signs. Qian pouts, like how K-pop idols do Aegyo for fans, show Jungkook pouting, and tells Yang to reject the offer. Yang replies that the company is ready to negotiate the price, and they are offering 50 million yuan. Qian fights through his tears to tell Yang again to reject the delectable offer, and Yang shares that the company has offered another 50 million. Qian loses all energy in his energy and starts drawing in his tears. Show dying alien meme. He really doesn't want to reject this life-changing offer, but he has no other choice. Yang has no idea why Qian is letting this huge opportunity go. Fuhui Capital then offers investment instead of acquisition, but Qian doesn't want investment, so he asks Yang to relay a question of his to the company. Mr. Lee is shook to find out that Tengda rejected his offer, and to make matters worse, they offered to invest in Fuhui Capital instead. Mr. Lee believes this is utter humiliation, but at the same time, he finds the guy running Tengda very interesting for this proposal. He lets out an evil Sukuna laugh, insert scene of Sukuna's evil smile, declaring that Tengda has his full attention now. Qian treats Yang to barbecue like he promised one time. Yang eats like a whale while Qian is sitting in front of him, lost in his thoughts. He asks him what's bothering him, as by now he must have earned quite a lot through the game. He calculates the estimate of the total earnings of the two games, which turns out to be around 6 million yuan. As a celebration, he offers to pay for the meal. Qian is beating himself with hammers in his mind because obviously, Yang has to pay for the meal. He earns more than his boss after all. However, when the bill arrives, Yang takes his boastful words back and asks for reimbursement for this meal. The word reimbursement rings something in Qian's mind, and he takes off from there in a hurry. He finds an isolated alley and summons Richest, who appears slurping noodles. He asks him if he can file that meal as a company team-building exercise. His request is accepted, and in response, he makes another request of the system dealing with his daily expenses, which gets rejected on the spot. He returns to Yang and tells him about the payment being settled up. The two of them shift their focus to the news, where a new technology is being discussed. Yang comments that he wishes that one day they could create a big and complicated game too, since the technology is advancing at a fast pace, but he wonders if only the two of them can do it. An idea about expanding the company pops up in Qian's mind. It is a good strategy for him because he'll get to spend a lot of money on hiring new people and other things. But this is also out of his scope because he has no idea how to run a company. Ma Yang is also clueless in this regard, so they decide on finding someone who knows how to manage an organization. Since there's no class in the afternoon the next day, they plan to hunt people for the role during that time. In the meantime, we see the producer of a company named Fiery Sky looking at the employees who can be laid off to reduce the company's costs. He singles out an employee who can stay and decides to fire everyone on the list. Right as he's conveying his decision to someone, Lin Wan, the pink-haired baddie, enters the room and hands her resignation letter. She expresses that this company is not the one for her, and she can't chase her dreams here. As soon as she leaves the room, the producer celebrates and calls someone named Mr. Lin and shares that he has completed the task given to him. He assures the guy that now she can stop dreaming about making games and return to take over the family business. The next day, the Dumb and Dumber duo goes to a company to hire someone. However, the way they present themselves would make someone think that they've come from the streets to beg for a minimum wage job. They convey that they're here to hire someone, and the manager, or whoever the ugly and creepy purple-haired guy is, advises them to look for students in their university if they're planning to start a business. Qian states that he's in dire need of hiring an assistant who can help him manage the company, and he's really satisfied with the vetting process of the other company. That hideous creature mockingly asks him if he even knows that they provide these services for money and not for free. Qian offers to pay his assistant an annual salary of 400k yuan in reply, making both the ugly and Yang spit out their drinks. Yang yells at him to think twice, while the purple bastard asks for fruits to be brought for the guests. The guy finally introduces himself as Lawrence, a fitting name for someone like him. He asks Qian what he is looking for, an executive secretary or an executive officer. Qian has no idea if the two are different terms, so Lawrence explains that the former oversees the matters that are too trivial for the boss to bother with, while the latter assists in making decisions about the company. Qian immediately replies that he wants an executive secretary because if he lets anyone else make decisions for him, the company might become successful. Lawrence recommends a male secretary, but Qian makes it clear at once that he is only interested in a female secretary. For starters, she will brighten his mood by being around. However, Lawrence thinks Qian wants a female secretary because he gets easily distracted by men. In short, he's calling him a Pride community member. Show a half-transparent Pride flag all over the screen on Qian. However, Lawrence is the one who is displaying stronger twink capabilities. He shows the two guests the profile of a female secretary who seems like a nerdy corporate shawty. She has a strong profile, but she's really picky about what company to go to next, as she just left a big company recently. Lawrence recommended her some big companies, but she rejected all of them because she doesn't want to work under a man. Qian asks why he is recommending Tengda, as he is a man too, and Lawrence winks at him saying that he's different. Show the pride flag again. Qian has no idea what he means by that. Nevertheless, he chooses that girl as his secretary right away. Lin Wan is sitting right outside the room, watching the news on her phone, where Phantom General is being discussed. Qian, Yang, and Lawrence pass by her, and Qian stops to tell her not to believe the news. He states that Phantom General is a crappy and boring game. Lin Wan gets agitated at his comments and goes off on him, saying that he has no right to say that about the game, as the real purpose of it is not to make money, but to innovate and disrupt the market. She sits down with a pout, and Qian replies that this much thought didn't go into the game. She questions how he knows that, upon which Qian just laughs awkwardly and leaves. On the way out, Lawrence informs that Xin Hailu, Qian's potential secretary, will meet him at 2 p.m. tomorrow. After they leave, he comes to Lin Wan and asks if she's looking for a job. She replies yes, and adds that she already has a target in mind. She wants to apply to Tengda Technology as a game developer, but since she couldn't find anything online, so she came here to ask. Lawrence laughs and discloses that the guy she just talked to is Pei Qian, the CEO of Tengda Technology. Lin Wan panics and runs after them instantly, but she is unable to catch them, unfortunately. Somewhere, we see Xin Hailu serving a fat, ugly degenerate some wine. The scoundrel caresses her hands, outrightly harassing her. Xin Hailu comments, "This is the 5th time this month," and with that, lands a beautiful Sanji-inspired kick on his face. Show a Sanji kick with the same style by side. Additionally, she aura farms with a badass stance and resigns right there and then. Show Sanji simping after her. The next day, the beautiful Xin Hailu meets Pei Qian in a cafe. They introduce themselves to each other and get to business right away. Xin Hailu praises Tengda Technology's success despite it being a mere startup. She also likes how Qian has no interest in male secretaries. She indirectly calls him the F slur, but he's too dumb to comprehend that. Show pride flag again, or a gay meme. She then talks a little about her skills and expresses her wish to work with him. Qian is satisfied with everything, but he makes it clear that he only wants her input when he asks her. In all other situations, she must stay quiet. Hailu finds the request a little weird, but she realizes that as a secretary, she has to do what the boss demands. They both shake hands, and she asks when she can start work. Qian replies that he doesn't have an office yet, and the two of them head straight to look for a place to rent. They reach the most expensive building in the city, which has an empty floor. The manager tells them that people usually rent a part of the floor to make offices. However, Qian says that he wants the whole floor, which makes the manager go from a hard-boiled Sigma uncle to a sparkling Pookie. Show pink ribbon stickers over him. The rent is 360k yuan per month, and the manager tries his best to persuade Qian into accepting the rent even if it's expensive. But much to his surprise, Qian responds that the rent is too cheap. He tells him that life isn't easy on him either, so he shouldn't try to give him any kind of discount. Since Phantom General is still a popular game, he has no issues with buying an expensive place. He has to pay 700k yuan for the deposit and rent in the first month. They finish up the contract, and Qian moves to the next step, which is to come up with a list of the office supplies. Xin Hailu passes him the list she made, and like every time, he says the supplies are too cheap. Since the office environment heavily influences working efficiency, he wants the best of the best for his office. He suggests a 2 million yuan budget for supplies and immediately gets a warning from Richest. He reduces it to 1.5 million, which isn't acceptable either, so he settles for 800k. Hailu says that it's a generous amount to spend on office supplies. After that, Qian keeps mentioning the things he wants, and the things start appearing. In no time, he has a top-tier workplace with advanced computers, an aesthetic cafeteria, state-of-the-art meeting room, and a cozy guest room. Hailu comments that he hasn't thought of a place for himself yet, and Qian gives her all the freedom to furnish it. Hailu decides on a 2-bedroom unit for him. This way, he won't have to return to the dorm when he's working overtime or abroad. Hailu also drafts a recruitment policy that is far too strict for Qian's standards. This kind of strict policy will only attract the elites, and he can't risk having them on his team and ruining his plan. He asks her to omit some of these points, and she argues that if she makes the policy too lenient, they won't be able to hire good developers. She's right in that sense, because if they hire laymen who are unable to make games, then it will be a violation of the rules. He tells her to leave the recruitment process to him, along with finalizing their salaries, etc. She abides by obediently, and asks whether he will change his look or not. Usually, game developers don't need to dress well, but a suit is necessary for attending business-related meetings. She turns him into the ultimate Rizzler in no time with a black fitted suit. He gives off the feel of a K-drama CEO who falls in love with his poor and clumsy employee. Show a scene of drama business proposal. By now, he has already spent so much money, and the expenses are only gonna get worse from now on. All he has to do now is find new employees. If he wants to lose more money, just having Ma Yang isn't enough. There needs to be another deadweight with rocks instead of a brain. He thinks of a guy from the gaming cafe with whom Ma Yang plays with sometimes. He makes a dramatic entrance to the cafe, shocking the receptionist and the customer who was standing there. He has the spotlight on him, and he walks with such poise that no one will be able to guess that the man only has around 1K yuan to his name. He asks if Bao Shu is inside, and the girl says yes in response. Not only does the girl get rizzed by him, but the guy feels his insides tingling at the sight of the handsome man too. Contrary to Pei Qian, Bao Shu is a stinky, touch-starved gamer who plays games all day. Everyone in the university knows him because he got expelled due to his low grades in many subjects. Later, he worked as a level booster. The guy basically lives in the internet cafe now. Qian thinks it's reasonable to recruit a professional gamer. Another positive point about him is that he's good at playing games but knows nothing about designing games, which means Qian can leave it to him to destroy games. Qian reaches him and tells him about the job offer right away. Bao Shu looks at him and figures he's just a pretentious person playing CEO in a new suit. He tells him to buzz off, but Qian places some cash before him, calling it his advance salary. Bao Shu inquires why he's wanted, as he has never developed games. Qian gets up and puts on his perfect manipulative mask. He pumps him up by saying that no one knows about games more than him, and asks him whether he wants to create the perfect game or not. He tells him to contact him if he has made up his mind, and walks away. Before Qian can leave the room, Bao Shu declares that he has made up his mind and he's willing to work for him. In response, Qian just tells his stinky ass to get a bath and new clothes with the money on his desk. When Qian leaves, Bao Shu bursts into tears of happiness as he has waited for this opportunity for so long. Qian is high on happiness because of the progress he has made. He sleeps with a grin on his face and wakes up later than usual the next day. When he reaches the company, a nervous, nerdy guy is waiting for the elevator. Qian pretends to be here for an interview and has a little chat with the guy. The guy rushed during his lunch break at work to have an interview at Tengda because he hates his current company. The elevator opens and the guy's senior developer steps out. He tells the pink-haired guy that Tengda has tough requirements and that he won't be able to make it. The junior developer lies that he's only here as a visitor, and the senior developer leaves. He and Chen get into the elevator, and he expresses his surprise at his lead designer applying here in secret. If someone with that kind of resume couldn't make it, then he has no chance at all. When the two of them enter the office, everyone greets Pei Qian, and it hits the guy that he was with the CEO in the elevator. During the interview, the pink guy is embarrassed because he's a newbie and doesn't have many skills, but Qian hires him instantly for those very reasons. As for the salary, he offers him way more than he asks. The new employee pledges to dedicate his life to Tengda in response. Back in his office, Chen is relaxing when Lin Wan comes barging in for an interview. He recognizes her instantly, and the girl apologizes to him for acting like a bitch back then. Before he can formally introduce himself, Lin Wan asks him if he thinks a game's main purpose is to earn money. Chen replies he doesn't think so, obviously, because his actual goal is to lose money. Thankfully, he doesn't say the last part out loud. Lin Wan smiles brightly and says that she also believes that the main purpose of games is to give joy to the gamers. She then moves on to her next question, which is whether he would eliminate the employees who work at the bottom in the future, and Chen replies no instantly, as his actual goal is to gather the bottom of the barrel employees. Lin Wan sheds tears of admiration for the guy, and upon knowing that she was a deadweight at her last job, Chen hires her immediately. Huang, the pink-haired guy, returns to his old job and slaps the job offer from Tengda in his lead designer's face. The anger and resentment that have been riling up in him for 6 months finally gets out as he goes off on the oldie for having a traditional gaming mindset despite being experienced. Back at his dorm, all of Chen's roommates are inquiring about where the guy went. Ma Yang claims that he and Chen have been working part-time, and since Chen has the night shift, so he has rented a place outside. Meanwhile, at the workplace, all the new employees are sitting in their chairs playing games because Chen hasn't given them any work, and it has been a week since they started working. They're all wondering why they have to sit on their bums like useless, talentless fads all day when they've been hired for something else. Lin Wan shuts everyone up by claiming that they are not getting any tasks because Mr. Pei Qian wants everyone to understand the user's perspective. By playing games, they can recognize the current problems in games so they can eliminate them in the future. By now, Lin Wan has beaten everyone in the biggest Pei Qian's meat writer competition, show writer on Eggplant Meme. She also adds that Pei Qian wants everyone to preserve their energy so they can work efficiently when the time comes. However, one thing the employees don't understand is why he doesn't show up to work. None of them has seen him in the office since joining. They wonder if he's busy somewhere or slacking off in his room. The slacking off possibility obviously turns out to be true because as his employees sit in front of their screens, wondering what the purpose of their job is, the boss sits on his couch eating watermelon like a child. He excuses his laziness by saying that he's just brainstorming. He wants to come up with a game plan that will definitely flop this time. A bulb lights up in his head, and he thinks he has found the solution after all. When it's time to get off, Pei Qian suddenly decides to show up and bless his employees. He makes an announcement that the reason he was absent last week was that he was thinking of Tengda's future. Since their last game was a super hit, he wants to try something different this time. This time, he wants to make a first-person shooter game. All employees are a little hesitant about the idea because FPS games barely succeed. Qian turns into Nelson Mandela right then and delivers a speech like he has a nation to build. Show Nelson Mandela giving a speech. His manipulative words do a number on the employees because they all get fired up to make this next project work. Qian specifically makes sure to point out Bao Shu and Huang Xibo and fake praises them because he's planning to get some work done by them. After brainwashing the whole team, he takes Bao Shu and Huang Xibo to the meeting room and explains what he wants in the next project. He instructs them to make a draft of an FPS game with simple controls and a lengthy story. Both employees look like they might piss their pants, but Huang Xibo still shows some courage and raises questions. He argues that this game might get criticized by the masses because it's not following the regular rules for FPS games. Instead of addressing the issues, Qian turns into his mega manipulator self and somehow convinces him to work on his instructions. He makes Huang Xibo, the project's lead designer, and Bao Shu, the game moderator, and orders them to deliver a draft in a week. The two guys can't do anything but go along with the plan. After exploiting his employees' naivety, Qian plays around in his revolving chair, enjoying being a boss who does nothing but delegate work to his slaves. He comes out of the conference room to see that everyone except Bao Shu has left, who has turned his work desk into an internet cafe and is playing games here. Qian is happy to see that everyone left, as it's in the company's policy to never let employees work overtime. However, as soon as he leaves, Huang Xibo spawns from under the table and starts working because he doesn't want to disappoint the boss who placed so much trust in him. Xibo works for hours, but none of the stories he came up with have satisfied him yet. Bao Shu, being the ultimate game connoisseur, takes Xibo inside his mind, briefing the kind of story he thinks would work. Now, they are two soldiers on a faraway oil platform fighting mummies. He has chosen an oil platform because it has less space to maneuver, but a complicated structure, which will increase the game's replayability. Instead of simplifying the controls, he modified the modes so that shooting can become easier for players. For the story mode, he comes up with the perfect traditional side character who'll make the game more immersive. It's a little deaf girl who gives instructions with her expressions. The players would have to analyze the girl's behavior and intentions. Using this as a foundation, some puzzles would be added, and her behavior would contain hints for solving the puzzles. In their weird imagination, the girl hands Xibo a rifle to shoot a zombie, and then they escape the oil platform together. Bao Shu comments that when a bond is created through interaction, players get invested. When they are brought back to reality, Xibo can't stop simping for Bao Shu's intelligence seer show meme of Mineta. Bao Shu praises him in reply too, but when they are done buttering each other up, they form a jerk-off circle for Pei Qian. They talk about him as if he's Jesus and work till the morning to work on his game. They come up with a great weapon for the game, and while they're discussing it, Ma Yang enters the office. He suspects right away that two boys had been working overtime. In some other place, Lin Wan attends a party looking like a princess, and everyone fawns over her. She hugs her father, and her father asks if she has finally given up on her dream of becoming a game developer since she left Fiery Sky Studio. She pulls back and states that she is more determined than ever now. She informs him that she has found a company where she belongs, which wipes the smile off his face. Huang Xibo and Bao Shu make it a regular occurrence to work overtime. Bao Shu tells Xibo to go home and rest, but the man is burning with passion and would do anything to get even slight approval from his daddy Pei. He asks Bao Shu to review his proposal and give him suggestions if he has any. Bao Shu starts uttering gibberish that goes over dumbass Xibo's head. Confused meme. While they're having their little work session, Ma Yang is seen spying on them. The next day, while Yang and Qian are planning their boring teacher's murder in their heads, Qian gets a text from Xibo. informing him that the game design's framework is complete and pending his approval. The message pisses him off, as he wants his team to slack off and keep dilly-dallying. Additionally, he's concerned that the framework might prove to be effective. Right then, Yang nudges him and tells him that Sibo has been working overtime secretly. Qian isn't surprised because now it makes sense why he's delivering work on time. The two decide to sneak out of class, and while they're making their way out secretively, Yang mentions that Sibo is actually doing overtime to play games. Qian stops in his tracks, and Yang's face bumps into Qian's fat and juicy cake, show the exact scene of Yang touching Qian's ass. Qian is somewhat relieved to hear that, and they return to their seats. He skims through the framework and gives Sibo a thumbs up on his progress. Meanwhile, Ma Yang is trying to convince him to punish Sibo for using company resources for playing. Qian shrugs off the topic, saying that playing games is a part of their job, technically. In the office, Sibo announces that his proposal has been accepted without any amendments, and that fires up all the employees. Everyone starts working like their rent is due, but the boss whom they are grinding for is taking a bath surrounded by silly bath toys. You would think the guy is in a competition with Sydney Sweeney's bath soap commercial, shows Sydney Sweeney's bath water soap, with the way he seductively slicks back his hair. He gets assigned a new closing date with additional funds, which kills all his excitement. Yang comes to him and discloses that Sibo has inspired the whole company to work overtime like him. Basically, everyone is working hard except these two losers who are supposed to run the game. This gives Qian a new idea to waste money. He decides to pay everyone for overtime since, as a great leader, he doesn't want to exploit his employees. Yang gets all emotional seeing his friend's kindness and dedication to caring about the workers. He takes it upon himself to calculate the overtime pay of everyone. The next day, Sibo presents his proposal in hard form to his daddy Pei. Qian has never read this many books in his lifetime, let alone in one setting. Sibo also requests him to decide the game's title. Fortunately for Qian, lunchtime starts, and he gets out of thinking about it. Yang announces that the company will offer its employees free lunch from now on, which looks like a wedding buffet. A fat shorty whines that she's on a diet, and Hailu enters the scene with two gym rats on steroids. She states that a gym is under construction, and professional trainers would be hired for employees. The whole office is gagged, and Sibo brings this up to Lin Wan. He expresses his confusion about Mr. Pei's actions, as there's no way a boss can be this kind. Then the duo uses their two combined brain cells to make sense of his charity. In the end, they manage to convince themselves that Mr. Pei is a master tactician, and he's doing all this to make employees more efficient. Right then, they get a notification on their phones informing them that they'll be getting overtime pay from now on. Wan goes to Qian's office to discuss this and rejects the overtime pay offer. Qian gets near her aggressively and questions why the employees must reject their well-deserved money. Wan gets a little flustered when he gets close and averts her eyes. She hesitantly responds that the employees don't want more money. Qian turns into Discount Superman and tries to convince Wan with niceness. Wan is hesitant to look at his face, and when she finally does, he seems like a 90s shoujo hero to her. His riz makes her head explode, and she leaves the room immediately. She tells everyone that she couldn't say no to him, and everyone actually relates to it because how could anyone ever say no to a rizzler like him? Meanwhile, in his room, Qian is thinking of ways to spend more money. He calls Bao Shu to his room and shows him the list of materials drafted by Sibo. Bao Shu reviews it and comments that it is a perfectly reasonable list, with all the items being in their budget. Qian questions why the list is not extravagant and wasteful, because how can they make a good game by spending so little? Bao Shu argues that they were thinking of the budget. This is why they asked for little to no custom content. Qian goes into his manipulative mode once again, and reminds him that the very reason Bao Shu joined this company is because he wants to make the perfect game. And this amount is too little to make his ideal game. Bao Shu gets a burst of motivation, and he discards the list into the trash bin. He decides not to rent servers anymore, but instead to buy them. Qian realizes that he doesn't have that much money, so he convinces Bao Shu to worry about it after the game is launched. For now, he should not let the budget limit the game's development. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee talks to Fiery Sky Studios producer about acquiring Tengda. The producer assures Mr. Lee that since he's their investor, he's going to do what he wants, because his enemy is Fiery Sky Studios' enemy too. As soon as the call ends, Mr. Lee's new analyst shares that all the employees at Tengda, except one, are mid with garbage resumes. Mr. Lee makes it clear that he doesn't care, and yells at him to poach all of them anyway. Back in the office, Bao Shu is watching videos to come up with better concepts when all employees start gathering around him, one by one. All of them want him to review their work and advise on what to do further. He has kinda become their leader by now, show suffering from success meme. But being an introvert loser who never touched grass all his life, this attention and dependence are too overwhelming for him. He thinks he's gonna mess up the project if he becomes the lead developer. Right then, Sibo emerges as a ray of sunshine and helps him out by advising everyone on what to do. After everyone returns to their seats, they all collectively get a call at the same time. 1 month later, Qian is sitting in his class smugly when Ma Yang calls him and informs him that Fiery Sky Studio is going to poach his whole team. Qian bolts out of his class right away upon hearing the news. Back in the office, Tengda's designer shows Sibo and Bao Shu the design of the little red girl he completed. Sibo and Bao Shu are appalled by the design because instead of a cute little girl, it's an ecchi heroine dressed in red. Show some ecchi anime poster, Bachshaf girl on the side. Qian gets to the office in fury and sees everything messed up and discarded. He cooks up a scenario of everyone leaving the office in a frenzy for more money and a better company. Meanwhile, poor Yang cries and tries to convince Qian that he shouldn't worry about those ingrates. They can hire new employees and start from scratch. There is only 1 month till the game launch, and Qian really doesn't want to do anything by himself again. He doesn't even know what their progress is. He wishes that he could have fired them instead, so he would have had to pay severance pay. Right then, all of the employees appear behind him. He and Ma Yang question how they are here if Fiery has poached all of them. The employees reveal that they all turned down Fiery's offer because Tengda is their home now. All of them start shining with hope and happiness and state that the environment and benefits at Tengda are the reason they never want to leave, show rainbow and sunshine around them. On top of that, they have creative freedom and can feel a sense of achievement here. Ma Yang can't seem to comprehend this because Fiery Sky Studio is the legend of the industry, and there's not a single developer who doesn't want to go there. Wan replies with a cringy quote that the true legend is before her, and points at Qian. Qian gets a little flustered, stating that he's not that big of a shot, and asks what's going on with all the mess in the office. Sibo replies that they finished the game early, and everyone became a gorilla in celebration. Then all of them went to the AV room to watch the final product, which is why the office was empty. Qian's eyes almost pop out of their sockets on seeing the story mode of the game. The idea is incredible and the executions look decent too. The game could seriously be a hit after a little polishing. Sibo asks for his feedback on the game and states that they completed the game early, so they can fix the errors before the launch date. Qian starts thinking of ways to prevent the team from testing the game. He comes up with the idea of a team building event. It can delay their progress and also require more funds. He announces the event to the team, and right then, Hailu enters the room with Mr. Li's unsightly secretary. The energy in the room shifts dramatically as soon as the employees see him. They tell Qian who he is, and he extends his hand towards him. The secretary shakes his hand firmly and excitedly exclaims that if he didn't try to poach everyone on Fiery's behalf, he would have never gotten to know Mr. Pei's excellence. So, now, he's planning to leave Fuhui Capital and come work at Tengda. He discloses that it was Mr. Li Shi from Fuhui Capital who wanted Fiery to poach everyone at Tengda, and not only that, he also hired trolls to write malicious reviews. Qian's face lights up as he thinks he has found his benefactor. But his employees look at the man like they're gonna rip out his kidneys, show Kurt Angel stare meme. So he has no choice but to reject him and send him off. During gym time, all the workers discuss where they are going to go for the team building activity. Bao Shu expresses that he doesn't want to go anywhere. He just wants to complete the project oil rig as soon as possible. Wan says something that knocks a poor guy off his treadmill. She shares that she wants to go to Fiery Sky Studio for the team building activity. She wants the people of that company to meet Mr. Pei and see what a real game developer looks like. Qian overhears the idea and gives it his approval right away by placing a hand on Wan's shoulder. Wan's world gets colored in pink at his touch. Show the scene with pink colors. Qian has a similar reason to approve of the idea, which is to show them what a real gaming company looks like, so it can lower their morale, but he acts like Princess Diana in front of his employees, and says that he always wanted to go there because they are Wan's previous employer. This yeets Wan into the ultimate Delulu land, and she starts thinking Qian wants to go there to learn more about her. On the day of the trip, everyone goes to have lunch first. Qian announces that their next stop is Fiery Sky Studio. However, it is not a compulsory trip. Everyone is free to use their time as they want. Wan is deep into her thoughts, probably thinking of things she wants to do with Qian right now. Show PG-18 sign. The budget of the trip is reduced from 450k yuan to 150k yuan because Wan communicated the amount wrongly to Hailu, but it's fine because Qian suspects the system would have let him spend this much money on a stupid trip anyway. Moving on. He reminds Ma Yang to ask questions when they go to Fiery, especially about their past mistakes, so he can repeat them. He corrects himself in front of Yang right away. but the airhead doesn't understand anything. When they reach Fiery, the producer is a little hesitant to let them in. He has no idea what Tengda's motive is behind the visit. His secretary thinks it's because they are here to take revenge as they tried to poach all of Tengda's employees, but taking revenge this way isn't something a company can do. Regardless, Qian and the rest of the employees are welcomed to the company's mansion. Everyone is in awe of the company's environment. There is a huge garden with different kinds of gaming setups in the office. Qian thinks it must take at least 10 million yuan to build this kind of place. He goes to meet the man who has been making all the decisions for this company. The secretary introduces him as Mr. Zhou Muyan, a gaming developer at the company. Qian shakes hands with them, and both of them go into scrutinizing every detail about each other. Mr. Zhou thinks Qian is young and is trying to act pretentious in an expensive custom-made suit. Meanwhile, Qian thinks of ways to make him appear even richer so he can continue this facade and spend more money. The secretary gets annoyed by their little mind battle and leaves the two of them alone. Muyan brags about his company's cutting-edge technology and goes to a nearby cupboard to gift him a limited edition doll by the company. Right then, the rest of Tengda's employees enter the room and they start telling Qian how the technology here is old-fashioned and everything at Tengda is so much more advanced. Qian starts shaking in his boots because he knows Muyan might be listening to their talk. The employees continue that the working space here feels so cramped to them, probably because they are used to Tengda's spacious workplace. Qian looks at Muyan, whose whole body is vibrating because of their conversation. However, Tengda's employees got no chill, as they keep talking trash about the working environment of FireRay. They mention that the company wastes too much money on extravagant things that don't matter, but the gaming department is effed up. Qian tries to shut them up, but Wan assures him that all rooms here are soundproof, so no one is going to hear them. She catches sight of her previous boss right then and turns to stone. Muyan turns around in fury, but when he sees the petrified Wan, his expression turns into surprise as he didn't know she had gone to Tengda. He's surprised that she bet her gaming ideals on a startup company. He opens the door and yells at his employees to participate in the corporate exchange event they're having. The NPC employees of Fiery sit right in front of the Tengda employees, and Yang starts his questioning. His first question is why there are so many employees working overtime on a Saturday, to which Muyan acts confused because Saturday is a normal working day for them. Tengda employees get shocked to hear that, but they assume the Fiery employees must get a lot of overtime pay if they work like that. The filler characters act like they have never heard the term overtime pay, show Fiery employees when mentioning filler characters. Muyan grits his teeth and angrily replies that there's no concept of overtime pay in the gaming world. Qian gets secondhand embarrassment on Fiery's behalf and whispers to Yang that he doesn't have to embarrass them by asking these questions. While Muyan is vibrating in his seat with anger, his secretary takes over and starts briefing Fiery's projects to Tengda. She mentions one of the projects and places her hands on Wan's shoulder, saying that she also worked on it. She gives her an evil stare and embarrasses her in front of everyone by saying that she resigned because she was on the retrenchment list. It's not like she dragged the company down. The NPC losers, whose only purpose in life is to give the spotlight to others, start laughing. Then the secretary moves away, saying that she's happy that Wan has found her place at Tengda, as if she didn't just violate her seconds before. Qian might be a shitty boss, but he knows how to handle scenarios like this. He tells everyone that Wan is a director at his company and instructs her to explain the creative direction of Tengda to Fiery employees. Wan plays along and hesitantly starts her speech. She glazes Pei Qian and his abilities like sugary donuts. Pei Qian himself thinks it's all bull, but Wan praising him like he's Jesus puts pressure on Muyan to deliver a better speech. He takes the floor next and starts talking about the new game they are developing. Meanwhile, Mr. Li, sitting in the dark, as always, curses his secretary for leaving willingly because this is the first time it has ever happened. He wants to teach him his place, but he doesn't even know the man's name. The secretary tries to stop Muyan from talking about the new game, Bullet Mark, since it's confidential, but Muyan is high on crack and only cares about having bragging rights, so he doesn't listen to her. Besides, the game is going to be launched in half a month anyway. Muyan starts going into the details about Bullet Mark, and Sibo panics after every detail. It's obvious that a lot of effort has gone into Bullet Mark, and it is definitely going to get popular. While Sibo is consumed by desperation, Qian sits in his seat, smiling proudly like he's watching his firstborn nail a presentation. Sibo doesn't understand how Qian is so confident, but like always, his schizophrenia brainwashes him into believing that Qian is somehow above everyone and knows about games more than anyone, completely oblivious to the fact that Qian is doing a little dancey dance in his mind, show a snippet of Chica dance, because Bullet Mark is going at easily beat Project Oil Rig. To make matters worse, he announces a 10-day annual leave as a reward for working hard during the team-building event. Sibo, however, has other ideas. He expresses his concern about Bulletmark beating their game, and it will be more embarrassing because both games are FPS and have the same launch date. He believes that Qian wants them to improve the game's quality, which is why the visit to Fiery was arranged. Bao Shu and Lin Wan agree with that too. They think that the boss has high expectations of them, and instead of addressing the issues directly, he tactfully made them aware of the competition. This gets everyone in the office fired up, and they become determined to make Oil Rig a success. Meanwhile, Mr. Li and Mr. Zhou get into a little scuffle over Tengda's visit to Fiery. Mr. Li doesn't like that Muyan revealed the whole plan of Bulletmark to a competitor. Muyan argues that Pei Qian isn't as smart as everyone thinks, and nothing is going to happen in half a month. Meanwhile, Mr. Li thinks that Pei is Einstein's long-lost son, and he's more dangerous than anyone else, so they'd better stay alert. During the leave days, all Tengda employees come to the office and work like dogs. Hailu is involved with them too, so she lies to Qian that everyone is indeed on leave. While Qian takes exams, his employees work day and night to complete the game. When he's finished with the exams, he takes a look at his funds, and he has finally spent more than what Phantom General has made. Now he just has to lose the rest of the funds so he can become rich in real life. He instructs Hailu to arrange another team-building event, but it's going to be a fun event with movies and a party this time. He orders her to spend exactly 361k yuan on the event and schedule it on Friday so the workers don't waste a free day. On the day of the event, after the movie, Tengda's employees give Qian a surprise that the debugging process of the game has been completed, and they can launch a day earlier than Bulletmark, not knowing that this is actually Qian's worst nightmare come true. He yells at everyone that they can't launch it a day before, ruining the vibe of the whole room, but Richest is always here to put Qian in his place, so he appears and reminds him that postponing the launch date for no reason is not allowed. He composes himself real quick and puts on his fake nice mask. He continues that they haven't had a real celebration, which is why he made that his previous statement. With that, they all go to have a scrumptious dinner. They get drunk and wasted there. Bao Shu sings a song for his daddy Pei in the most grating voice imaginable. Everyone prays for the success of Oil Rig, and each prayer is like an arrow to Qian's heart. Show someone getting hit by arrow. The room is bustling with sunshine and rainbows, and everyone is living these moments to the fullest. Lin Wan gets a little emotional seeing everyone so happy. She believes that all this is because Qian values his employees. However, she also notices that the man who apparently changed everyone's lives looks worried. The man is cooking up new ways to utterly destroy the company and wipe smiles off everyone's faces, but of course as a certified Qian simp. Show Juvia from Fairy Tale Simping. She assumes he's thinking about the company's future and its goodwill. On the other hand, Bao Shu is on stage, glazing Qian for showing him kindness and turning his life around. Everyone starts crying and being grateful to him, and soon enough, they all pass out. They miss the day of launch because their drunkard asses sleep through the day. The game ends up being launched on the same day as Bulletmark, just like how Qian wanted. Naturally, Bulletmark tops the charts right away, while Project Oil Rig is barely recognized. However, the team doesn't lose morale because they believe that with the right marketing, the game can still be successful. However, there haven't been any ads for the game yet, which is a problem. As the Delulu land residents, they convince themselves that Mr. Pei is testing their resilience, and if they can work under pressure, which is why he hasn't marketed the game yet. So they decide to work on the optimized versions of the game. But Hailu shares that Qian hasn't allocated any budget for it yet. Lin Wan's rich connections finally come in handy, and she assures everyone to leave the marketing in her care. She talks to a professional gamer who goes by the name of Broken Halbert to test the game. Broken Halbert is not convinced to play the game at first, but he sees that a weapon is priced at a ridiculous price of 888 yuan, and it makes him curious to see what the game's about. Qian's tactic of using an unreasonably high purchase amount backfires on him, as he had thought this would repel the gamers. The game starts immediately without an introduction, and the mute girl appears, who thankfully doesn't look like an ecchi heroine now. Too bad for touch-starved incels, though. Show some incel memes or some fat, ugly dude getting mad. The girl gives him a weapon and gives him hints on how to progress further. She also saves the main character in times of need and heals him. The game really excites Broken Halbert, and he personally goes to Tengda to thank the creators. Everyone there treats him like Michael Jackson. He had begged Lin Wan to be here, so the attention is really rewarding. He gives his honest review about the game, saying that there's still a gap between Project Oil Rig and high-level international games, but it's still immersive. Plus, the plot twist at the end is really thrilling. He fawns over the game, like it is the best game ever made, but people around him fawn over him more, and trap him in a crowd, show suffering from success meme. He continues that Bulletmark is great in some aspects, but it plays like QA cheap copy of other international games. But Project Oil Rig does the opposite on purpose. Not only is it beginner-friendly, but it is fun for experienced gamers too. Sibo and Bao Shu are so glad that all those overtime shifts are being rewarded and thank Broken Halbert for the affirmation. Broken Halbert says that he should be thanking them instead for creating such a genius game. He then moves on to talk about the unconventional in-game shop, which only has one legendary weapon priced at a ridiculous price, with the rest of the items being free. Sibo shares that it was their glorious boss's idea to have a legendary luxury weapon in the shop. Broken Halbert thinks it's a great strategy and definitely one of the main attracting factors of the game. In the end, Lin Wan didn't even have to pay the streamer for testing the game. He does it for free, in addition to doing an exclusive live stream for Project Oil Rig, so everyone can know its excellence. After a few days, we see Qian sitting confidently in class, oblivious to the fact that the game has now gone viral. Yang tells him that the initial response of the game was very disappointing, and Qian's mind transports to Cloud 9 just after hearing that. He cooks up a scenario of going back to the company and seeing everyone absolutely broken and dejected. Seeing other people broken is his therapy at this point, show Patrick Bateman laughing meme, but his dream and imagination shatter as soon as Yang shares that the game has been getting good responses in the past 2 days. He bolts out of the class, violating his professor in the process, as always. When he reaches the office, everyone is quiet, and the environment is exactly like how he had imagined in his perfect case scenario. But suddenly, everyone gathers around him and starts clapping for him like he has just found a cure for cancer. All the employees start praising him and thanking him for his work while his world spins. He goes through an existential crisis while the rest of the world around him celebrates. He finally goes back to his office to reflect on what has happened. He has been getting L after being introduced to the fortune conversion system. He wonders if someone spent money on marketing and intentionally made the game viral, like the artist did last time. In that case, he has to find the mole. Sibo enters the room right then and hands him a report of all the factors that led to the game's success. He finds out that Lin Wan found a streamer to test the game, but he can't blame her for doing that, since he was the one who instructed everyone to move to the next phase. The more he reads the document, the more he becomes aware that the mole was himself. The things he thought would tarnish the game's reputation ended up being the reason for its success. While Chen thinks of ways to isekai himself, his employees have a group jerk-off session for him. He leaves his room feeling defeated and destroyed, but his dunce employees think he's calm and composed. He goes to the rooftop and screams at the top of his lungs in frustration. At this rate, the game might earn millions since the legendary weapon alone is going to earn them very well. Wan sees him and thinks the man is about to off himself, which he technically should. She tells him to calm down and not do anything reckless. She assumes that Qian feels a little bad about Fiery Sky Studio, as Project Oil Rig has crushed Bullet Mark in all aspects. He had no idea the game had become this popular, and the information makes his knees weak. Wan places a hand on his shoulder and consoles him that his workers are always going to be there for him. This gives Qian an idea to have others spend money for him since there is power in numbers. He gets up and decides to go all out this time, as if he hasn't been doing everything in his power to win till now. On the other hand, Zhou Muyan is sitting all depressed about the loss he experienced because of his own incompetence. Mr. Li calls him to get information and he has nothing to tell him that won't make the other guy hire a hitman for him. Qian has 47 hours left till the closing date, and he has to find a way to lose 600k Pla Yuan by then. However, whatever requests he puts forward to the richest are denied immediately. He beats the little AI bot up, but the richest stays unfazed. The whole day passes, and he's still in his office, depressed about his L life. Show L from Death Note. Hailu catches him and asks him if he needs anything. He tells her to go at first, but then asks her if she knows how to fabricate excuses so that he can carry out his personal demand under the company's name. Hailu yells that it's illegal, and Qian has to change his tactic. He reasons that he wants to benefit his employees with the company's profit. He lies that he wants to share the company bonus with everyone, but there's a limit. Hailu doesn't ask him who's the one limiting it. She explains that normally, 50% of the profit can go to employees, but if he wants more than that, he can raise their pay. And for the rest, he can give them extra benefits like shopping cards, festival gifts, or high-temperature subsidies. In the morning, Hailu brings him a long list of ways more money can be spent. Chen gets high on happiness and thinks about force-feeding the list to richest and him not being able to do anything about it. In reality too, for the first time, Chen is spared from taking a fat L. Richest approves of the whole list instantly, all thanks to Hailu's intelligence and tact. Qian takes the company to a big mall and hands them gift cards so they can waste money. With only 2 hours left till the closing time, Qian prays that everyone can spend all the money. He takes them to Temu version of Apple Store. It has a lot of new and advanced laptops and phones, and Qian pretty much forces his employees to buy things of their liking from there. Lin Wan just lounges around in a seat, saying she already has everything in this shop. Turns out the discount Apple store is Juan's family business. Ma Yang buys some phone cases so he can have a new one every other day, and Qian buys him every single phone case in the shop. Lin Wan fawns over her imaginary lover and thinks he's some kind of Disney prince because no boss can ever be as kind as him. She feels happy that her family store is being recognized by the love of her life. After a while, Hailu informs him that everyone from her side has achieved the spending target. Qian does a quick mental calculation and figures that he still has a lot to spend. He expresses that he wants to buy something for himself too, and Hailu points out that he needs a pen and a watch, so he might as well buy those. He runs to a dollar store Louis Vuitton for a watch, and asks the sales staff to bring him the most expensive watch. However, he is humbled quickly as Richest puts a limit of 40k yuan for spending on himself. He buys whatever he can in those 40k and gets out of the shop. The employees comment that he has spending habits of a woman. God forbid someone says anything slightly negative about Chen. Juan comes forward as the commander of his protection squad. She comments that everything he bought is work-related, plus the total budget of today's shopping is around 100k yuan, which is not that big an amount. Only 1 minute remains till the closing time. But Chen doesn't give up and tries to spend each and every penny till the end. He sees a random perfume, and Richest appears immediately, telling him that perfume is not related to the company's business. He tries to get out of it by saying that it's for a client, but Richest asks for the client's name in return. Seeing that everyone except Juan has bought something, he quickly hands the perfume to Juan in the guise of gifting it to her. Richest analyses that she's the heiress of the Shenhua Group, the shop where they bought laptops and phones, etc. from, and allows the purchase. For the first time ever, Qian loses a bit of money. It's not a big amount, but it's a start to something. For the first time ever, Qian is not a walking L. When they get out of the mall, Juan thanks him for gifting her the perfume. Qian wonders why the system allowed him to gift Juan, but then shrugs off the thought. Meanwhile, Juan is in an imaginary shoujo world, with Qian being her chivalrous shoujo MC, who gets all the girls, Sho Usui from Maid-sama, for reference. While he walks away, Qian thinks of thanking all the employees for helping me get into a loss for the first time, but he also has to get rid of the people who helped him. The next morning, he awards Huang Xibo and Bao Shu the best employee titles, since they were the ones behind the success of Project Oil Rig. However, as soon as he gives them awards, he announces their termination. Xibo gets replaced by NPC King Mingliang, whose name was never mentioned before. Chen elaborates that he's not firing Xibo, he's giving him a 1 million yuan capital so he can fulfill his dream of starting a business. Xibo falls to the ground in ecstasy, and Qian celebrates eliminating the biggest enemy by his side. His next enemy is Bao Shu, and he gives him an unlimited paid holiday as a gift. The rest of the employees comment that this is not just a holiday, Qian is basically becoming his sugar daddy. Bao Shu isn't fascinated by the idea of a holiday because he's a homebody who never touches grass. But how can anyone resist Daddy Pay's charm? So he ends up giving in anyway. With that, he announces the commencement of a new project. Xibo packs all his things up and emotionally says goodbye to his co-workers. He tells Hailu that his dream is still gaming industry, but since Qian has trusted him to expand Tengda's business plan, he's gonna try his hardest. Hailu asks him if he wants to meet the boss one last time before leaving, and he refuses the offer. He knows that his crybaby ass would start crying seeing his daddy, plus he believes that Qian must be really sad too, so it's best that they don't meet. Meanwhile, his daddy is celebrating his departure by hitting random emotes in his office. Show some Fortnite emotes for reference. For the next round, he gets 1 million yuan starting fund, but this time, Qian is as confident as ever that he's surely gonna spend it all. On his way out, Xibo asks Mingliang to handle the updates of Project Oil Rig and Phantom General, and Mingliang shares that Qian has told them not to update the games anymore, as he only wants to focus on the new project. Xibo doesn't understand the reason behind it because updating the popular games can bring them more profit, but as Qian's personal babysitter and protector, Juan interrupts them and assures them to have faith in Qian's strategy, because history has told her that the tougher the situation, the better Qian is able to handle it. In his office, Qian decides not to give creative freedom to the employees anymore because it might backfire on him again. Bao Shu, his second biggest enemy, sends him a goofy video from his travels, and Qian feels like feeding him to the same monkeys he has sent. He calls Mingliang and Juan to a meeting immediately. He tells them that their next game is going to be about the issues in the gaming industry. It will be an interactive game that will make players think about the problems prevalent in the gaming industry. Mingliang comments that the players would hate this kind of game, and Qian thinks to himself that this is exactly his goal. He elaborates that it will be a 2D game and will be based in the Tengda office environment. Basically, the player will play as a game producer, and he will develop games and do regular office work. The scenarios and results would vary based on the player's choices. For NPCs, narrations will be added so the players can know what everyone is thinking. Qian is so confident that this niche genre of game will totally flop. Ma Yang asks Qian if he can live in his condominium till the new year, and Qian hands him the keys right away. He asks Yang if he's not going to go back home, and replies with a no, because it's winter break at the university, not in the company. Right then, Bao Shu sends a video of himself surfing in hot, steamy weather, while these two losers here are dying from the cold. Having no sense of responsibility as the boss of his company, Chen takes a winter break, arguing he's a student and goes on a holiday. Meanwhile, his poor employees are recording voice lines for the narration of the game. Ming Liang has been assigned the job of dubbing the whole game. However, after hours, they haven't been able to record a single line. Ming Liang doesn't understand why he has to work on dubbing when he's a developer. He should be dealing with the development stuff, not this useless stuff. Wan riles up at his words and bursts into the recording booth, stating that narration is the most important part of this game and that he should blindly trust Pei Qian's vision. She points out that the script is strangely unique. Normally, a game like this would get review bombed, but she believes that Chen has made the script like this on purpose so the players can know about the ugly reality of the gaming industry. Ming Liang actually gets convinced by her words, and the duo have a little glazing session for their daddy, Show Glazed Donuts. Ming Liang finally understands that this new project, which is named Game Producer, is not a game that humiliates players, but rather a game that speaks up for the players. He finally gets immersed in his character and delivers the lines perfectly. Wan also gets into position and starts saying her nonsense lines. The two look like chickens fighting while recording their lines. The sound engineer raises a question about what would happen if the player doesn't do as the narration says, and Wan elaborates that in one of the storylines, the producer is too kind and can't break even. In the end, the company becomes obsolete. This gives the player a lesson that the gaming industry is cruel, and the only thing protecting the current gaming industry is their Jesus, Pei Qian. Show shining Jesus with Qian's face edited on. Jesus' second coming, Pei Qian, takes a few days off work and gives the employees some days off too. When he returns to the office, he is met with a homeless-looking stinky Bao Shu. The bum wants to return to work because the vacations have given him nothing but emptiness. Qian might be a little sick in the head, but he's not evil, so he lets Bao Shu return to work, taking into account his current condition. Bao Shu gets a transformation as soon as he touches his computer equipment. Ming Liang tries to get something about the new project reviewed by him, but Qian had asked him to let Ming Liang handle this game for his learning process, so he politely refuses to review. His position in the company from now on will be the freeloader who plays games all day. However, this ideal lifestyle that people like us pray for day and night doesn't sit right with him. Sibo comes over at night, and the dynamic duo decides to optimize the old games since they can't work on the new one. The next day, everyone at the office finds out that Phaetom General fans have started a petition to get the game updated. The petition has reached 10,000 signatures, and everyone wants the game to continue with some optimization. Chen doesn't understand why people like that dollar store game, but to each their own. He firmly states that there is no need to update the game despite the pressure, but the world slips from under his feet when he is told that the game has been getting optimized slowly. The next day, Riz merchant Ruan Guangjin makes an appearance again. He hides his face and enters Tengda. Xin Hailu recognizes him and asks him if he wants something. He hands her a USB containing new character designs for Phantom General. Hailu questions if Pei Qian instructed him to do so, and he denies, saying he did it of his own accord. Hailu still feels a little awkward about the situation, so he brings him to Qian's office so he can give him the designs directly. He is hesitant to go inside as if his crush is sitting there, which might be right because everyone who has met Qian is somehow in love with him. As soon as he gets inside, Qian yells at him, asking why he optimized the game. Then, 10 minutes pass, and Guangjin comes out of the room, all smiling. He shares that Qian has asked him to draw a poster for the new game. After he leaves, Ming Liang shows the game's draft to Qian, which looks exactly like what he envisioned. He praises him for the right execution and calls him a friend, which melts the little guy. He hands him a report of his marketing strategy for the next game and tells him to hand it to Lin Wan. Ming Liang is a little confused because it has always been known that Chen doesn't like marketing, but Chen says he has changed his strategy this time. He changed his mind exactly 10 minutes ago during the chat with Guangjin. He made it clear that he didn't want Phantom General's designs. Guangjin got a little hyped up and ended up giving Chen a speech. That speech made him realize that Tengda was a small company back then, so the no marketing strategy painted them as victims, and people naturally got attracted to the games. But now, they're a big company, so if he plays his cards right, he can make the people hate the company. Wan is shocked to see the list. and doesn't like most of the ideas in it because why the hell would Qian want to hire an influencer to promote the game when it goes against the company's core values? But love is blind, so she convinces herself that her Prince Charming must have thought this through. She contacts the sugar daddy YouTuber who made the Lonely Desert Road famous. Not only does she ask him to promote the game, but she also offers a 10k yuan monthly salary, which makes the fat guy's head spin. He's incredibly happy that someone worthless like him could be rewarded like this. However, listening to the details that he's going to have a collaboration with other influencers and that he's going to follow the script written by Qian, he refuses the offer. But Wan keeps raising the salary for him, and at 50k yuan, Sugar Daddy transforms into a Super Saiyan and promises to follow all of the company's rules and regulations. But this game also rage baits into oblivion just like Lonely Desert Road. Girl banging her head on desk meme. When the salary gets transferred to his account and he sees the company's name, it hits him that this game is made by the same asshole who made Lonely Desert Road. He thinks that Tengda is taking revenge on him for roasting the game. If he were a content creator with dignity, he would have refused the job, but he's as broke as people lying down in the streets, so he chooses to obey Tengda. The game launch is tomorrow, so Wan has a little chat about it with Sibo and Bao Shu. She knows that they're the ones who optimized Project Oil Rig and Phantom General, but she promises not to tell anyone. Regarding gaming producer, a lot of people find it boring, so she's a little nervous. Bao Shu assures her that it's a good game regardless. However, this game is ahead of its time, so he feels like it can be criticized at first. The trio starts a group Chen jerk-off circle again, show a cult of fans, preferably K-pop fans, praising him for always taking risks and never backing down from what he believes in. They look up at the sky and see Qian in the moon like he just passed away. The game advertisement involving influencers turns out to be absolute dog shit, but no one has the courage to say it in front of Qian. He, however, is very satisfied because this means the game will be hated. Right then, Hailu enters the room in worry, notifying that everyone is criticizing Tengda online. People express their disappointment in Sugar Daddy Chow becoming a sellout. Everyone thinks the influencer is being held at gunpoint in his video to deliver that garbage script. Qian thinks he has hit the mark now, because making an influencer famous for roasting games praise a game that humiliates players is doomed to meet with criticism. While everyone gets depressed seeing people talk badly about their beloved company, Lin Wan runs from there, claiming that she's going to turn things around. On the day of the launch, the game flops badly and receives backlash from everyone. People even claim that Tengda has lost its previous popularity because of this new game's marketing campaign. Min Liang turns into a wet cat because the first game he was in charge of has been ruined. Right then, Sibo walks in with a news channel reporter, saying that he has brought her to fix their reputation. She takes videos of all employees but edits them viciously to make it seem like everyone at Tengda is utterly depressed. Mr. Lee appears in the reporter's office and praises her for good work on their behalf. After Mr. Lee leaves, Wan walks up to the reporter and reprimands her for this behavior. The reporter tries to talk back, but her boss stops her right there. When Wan leaves, he tells her that Li Wan is the heiress of the Shenhua Group, and Mr. Lee's Fuhui capital doesn't hold a candle to Shenhua Group's power. She goes to take Qian's interview the next day. Qian decides to be a little mean on purpose, but the reporter thinks that the guy is transparent and honest. He mentions that it was Wan who arranged this interview for him. Otherwise, he would have never agreed to this. The reporter thinks that the two are in love, and they make a perfect rich daughter and elite up-and-comer couple. She further questions why does he make games, and he admits in front of the camera that he does it to lose money. Meanwhile, Sugar Daddy Chow's conscience doesn't let him sleep at night. All he thinks about is how hated he has become because he wanted some cash. He gets up in the middle of the night and starts the game to see if it's actually trash or not. It's priced at the rate of 28 yuan, contrary to Lonely Desert Road, which only costs 1 yuan. The game looks dumb at first, but it's actually decent when you play it. The storyline is very realistic, and Chow can relate to it. Every single instance in the game reminds him of the simple events he has gone through when he was young, skinny, and decent looking. People used to doubt him and call his concept boring, but at least he was good looking back then. Now Chow has nothing except his obese physique. Show fat tummy meme. By the time the game ends, Chow is full-on crying. He unofficially joins the Qian Glazer Club by calling his vision with his game a masterpiece. The next day, the interview airs, and it contains nothing but positive feedback for Pei Qian. All the employees talk about how they first met and how his presence has changed their lives. Everyone gets emotional flashbacks of their favorite interaction with him. Lin Wan especially goes all out with her speech. Qian blankly looks at his screen because this interview is the opposite of what he actually stands for, but he's still hopeful that he's gonna lose money this time. Ming Liang bursts into the room right then and informs him that Swagger Daddy Chow's review of Game Producer has gone viral. In the video, Chow comes up with the lie that on April Fools, he and Tengda joined hands to implement a master plan. They made a silly and goofy trend on purpose to elicit reactions among people and see if the copycats still copy him. He admits that the reason he can talk about this so confidently is because of the masterpiece that is Game Producer. The gameplay, storyline, dialogues, and everything are worth spending money on. As he keeps talking, Qian sinks into his seat. Qiao starts crying on the live stream, which shocks all the viewers. He can't help but relate to the game and empathize with the main character. He gives a passionate speech on how Tengda made this game to give everyone a gist of how fickle society is. Qian turns off his laptop miserably and gets out of his room to see an even more annoying scene. Everyone in the office celebrates the random virality of the show. He hangs his head low and heads home. On the way, Mr. Li from Fuhui calls him and trash talks him. He also finally gives a face reveal, which is as disappointing as we thought it would be. Insert burst out laughing clip. He looks like every other anime uncle. Mr. Li cuts the call short in a hurry after declaring that he will take revenge on him. Chen doesn't know what the man said, but it looked like he didn't like Tengda, which means he doesn't have to fight against Tengda alone. Right then, Richest appears and announces that he's going to be sent on a mission. The screen beneath his feet displays the 10% increase on the original conversion amount. He has no idea what is going on, and he doesn't want to find out either.